was gonna just play one of the songs. Where did I put that thing? Ah, I had it all ready. Oh wait, there it is. Okay, there we are. I was like, where did I put this? Oh, it's right on my desktop. Okay. Well, it simplifies
That
things.
that is usually when I look for Steam keys. You know, when I'm all like, hey, yeah, sure, you can have a Steam key, and I always forget where I put them. It's like, just give me a second.
I'm
And
actually,
then
I was a little dubious. Oh, go ahead. It's
hmm,
like,
that's also why I told you it could be a beta key. I'm not sure because I just have them flying around on my PC everywhere.
now when a developer gets on Steam, are they just like handed like unlimited keys? You can just hand them out wherever. Or is it like a stock that you have to ask Steam for or something?
Well, you have to ask Steam every time you need like a bunch of them, and Steam says that when you ask for a very huge number of keys, they might get suspicious, but up until this point, I didn't have that problem. So I think until I don't know 50,000 or something, it seems to be okay. But
hmm
I
That's
don't
quite
know.
a few actually.
Yes, it's not like back in the day with Xbox Live indie games, you had 50 keys, and that's it. So
Oh, that's right.
yeah,
You had that was a. I just realized like Macbat's not your only commercial game. There was others, wasn't there?
yeah, exactly. I made a few on. I released 3 on Xbox Live indie games, but well, they weren't very good. Really.
Admittedly,
But I'm
I've only played Kiwi 64 of yours so far. Well, soon to change to
yes,
Macbat as well, but
that's good because that was I think 2014, and it was like my restarting the whole game making thing, kind of.
yeah, like you had. Yeah, I know how it is because I mean, I haven't done anything for a while, but I used to mess around and develop games in Game Maker and also RPG Maker.
Mm.
Nothing too crazy though. I did try to make an action game in an RPG Maker, which was a bit. I didn't want to just do the usual RPG thing, so I tried. I was pretty ambitious at the time. Actually, I lost the game. I lost the game files entirely at some point, but I do have YouTube footage of me playing through everything I had done and had created that up to that point. So at least I still have that there.
That's cool. Yeah, I actually worked with the RPG Maker as well, way back in I don't know start of the 2000s or something, and I made a Castlevania fan game, like a real actual platforming thing, but still using this, the way the RPG Maker has this grid where you walk around, and I tried to make a platforming game with this grid, and it's so horrible.
Oh my
I
goodness.
mean, it's fun if you know how to play it, but it's not good. It's not good.
I think I remember playing a few like a Mario one. Somebody did an RPG Maker Mario game where they wanted it to be a platformer, including jumping
Yeah.
on Goombas and stuff, and it was so awkward. It was more like a time button press to like get the action at the right time rather than actual like any sort of fluidity.
Yeah. Basically, you just have to count the fields until the edge, and then just press the jump button, and that's it for most of those games.
Pretty much. But yeah, I guess let's. I mean, we've already kind of started the interview by accident. That's fine. I'm really casual about this stuff, anyways. But yeah, I did have a short list of questions, so I figured I'd ask that. I mean,
Okay.
we kind of got into it already, but yeah, you've been developing games for quite a while now. Like, when did you start actually? Like for like the games that you've been putting up, like the ones that actually still are up for play and such. When did you start?
I well, actually, working on games, I think around um 2002, 2003. But like the first game I actually released was, let me check. It probably still is somewhere on my. No, it's not. I got it. Well, it was like a Metroid fan game,
Oh,
and
nice.
I think I released it in 2007. But it was also made with the RPG Maker, so the same awkward jumping. But I was very proud of it.
Yeah, I mean that sounds pretty ambitious. I mean, I'm assuming since you were going for a Metro game, I assume it wasn't just linear. You like it. They're usually
No, it
focused
was
on
a
exploration
Metroidvania.
and yeah, yeah. I actually love like Metroidvanias, so that sounds kind of cool to me actually.
Yeah, me too, me too. Especially uh, Metroid Zero Mission and Super Metroid, and it used the graphics from Metroid Zero Mission.
Oh, cool.
So it was like, the characters didn't even fit the character system in the RPG Maker. It was just so messy.
So,
Yeah.
what your studio name? I was kind of curious about it. Like, Siactro? I don't know how to pronounce it exactly. Did it have like? I'm curious. Does it have a meaning, or is it just like a cool word?
Well, it actually has sort of a meaning, and I can't tell you how to pronounce it. It's just I don't know. Sometimes I call it Siactro. Sometimes I call it Siactro. And you know when I talk to friends in German, it's like Siactro. You know, it's like, it just sounds very hard. No, but it's made out of 3 different words. That is, let me think. Simple, action, and retro.
Oh, that's cool. So it does
Yes,
have
and
a
it
meaning.
was the idea of a friend of mine. We were sitting here like, I don't know, 4 or 5 hours, and it's like, I need a name. And at some point he was like, Siactro. Oh, what's that for a name? It sounds weird. Yeah, it's simple, action, and retro. Oh, that's good. I take that one.
That's so cool. I wonder if there's a word for that because it's almost like an acronym, but like a little bit longer than an acronym. It's like I don't know what you call that. I don't even know if that has a word, but I like that. I like that a lot. I think I remember another game development studio that had that. But I can't remember the name of it. They kind of did the same concept.
The Capcom did something similar, right? I mean,
yeah, it was like a major developer. Yeah, and I think there was another big name, but I can't remember. Maybe
probably.
But yeah, you have a point there, because yeah, there was more than one company that had like a very long, boring name, and there was one that wasn't in the game business. I can't remember which one it was. They were not in the gaming business. They were just into like electronics. They had a really boring name, but then they changed their name to the iconic name they have nowadays, which I can't remember when they became a game studio. But yeah, I guess it just makes words cooler when you do that.
Yeah, apparently. I mean, like I said, it wasn't my idea, so I can't take credit for it. But yeah, I liked it.
So, what inspired you to get into the whole retro 3D thing? Because that's definitely been your focus as of late, I've noticed.
It is, right? I mean, I don't really remember how it started. I mean, I think the first game I had this low poly aesthetic was Kiwi 64, and I made that game. I think I started working on it a few weeks after Grant Kirkhope basically said that the spiritual successor to Banjo-Tooie is not going to happen because all the people involved are too busy. So there was like this urge to play a new Banjo game, but nobody was making it. So I figured, you know what, I just make my own like small 1-level thing. And originally I wanted to make it in a bit better graphics, a bit modern. Then I realized I'm not good at arts, so I said, you know what, just make it low poly, all very blocky, so it's authentic to that time, and also you can do it.
Also, you could have fooled me. I think you have a great art style with these games. Like, I don't know about your earlier work, sure, maybe a little more generic there, but you definitely got something going here with the low poly style. I think your art looks really it pops good. It's colorful, it's bright, it's vibrant.
Yeah, I think, you know, I started messing around with 3D in 2003, I think, when I made a bunch of Sonic fan games, which are not released and I will never release. And at some point I had a few videos up and it was horrible, but at least I kind of understood how the whole 3D thing works.
Mm-hmm. And actually, that raises interesting, because I wasn't sure. Like, I have a fuzzy memory. I could have probably checked on this. I didn't know if you made Kiwi 64 before or after the ukulele stuff, but I was pretty sure it was before ukulele was mentioned. So I was wondering if it was possibly inspired by, because I remember Grant mentioning at that time about how Banjo-Kazooie would not get a successor, which I'm glad that changed, even if, well, I mean, I actually have never played ukulele. I'm sure you've been aware of it. Obviously, you probably have it yourself, don't you? Or,
yeah, I backed it.
I almost backed it, but I decided to back my number 9 instead. I had like a choice. Of course, I made a terrible choice there, but
I backed both and Bloodstained.
And Bloodstained. Yes, I'm looking forward to that. I hope that comes out well. But yeah, what do you think of ukulele? Like, there's been a lot of mixed reviews on that.
Yeah, yeah, it is. I mean, the big problem for me with ukulele is I played it like a month after I released Macbat 64. So I still had my mind going around 3D platformers, and at that point I was a tiny bit sick of the whole genre. So I probably kind of, destroyed my first impression of ukulele. But I can definitely see where the criticism is coming from. Like, there were a few things in that game that were like, I don't know, could have been better. But there were also many cool things about the game. I think it's probably one of those games where it really is more subjective matter than objective matter, you know?
Yeah, I agree. It's like, depends on if you
It's difficult.
prefer or don't prefer certain elements. And it's all down to personal taste at that point. I think I basically agree with a mixed kind of reception. I personally haven't played it, so I'm not set on an opinion yet, but I'm going to be playing it pretty soon. Actually, I plan on streaming that at some point. But I think they did a good job. I don't think they did a great job, but I do think they did a good job. It's not perfect, but I'd say for those of us that are into the 3D platforms and stuff, it's still a good entry to play. It's still worth your time. But
And it has fantastic music.
oh yeah, absolutely. You can't go wrong with Kirkhope and who else was involved? I can't remember.
Dave Wise.
Yes,
and
David Wise.
I forgot the third one. I'm sorry, but
Yeah,
it's
well,
also someone from Rare
Yeah.
from back in the days.
So about Macbat though,
Yeah.
curious, why'd you pick a bat for the main character? That is.
That's kind of interesting because the character was one of the first things that came to my mind when I was, starting to think about this game. Next year I was driving to my girlfriend's place, and was sitting in a bus and was like, goddammit, I want to make another 3D platformer. Just something very simple with this one very intuitive mechanic. And then I thought about Flappy Bird. It's a bit, I'm sorry, but it was Flappy Bird that inspired Macbat, sort of.
We'll forgive you on that one.
And I thought, oh yeah, I could make a small game with a bird. No, wait, no, that's not a good idea. We already have Flappy Bird. And then I was just thinking about animals that have wings. And I came up with a bat because it was also a very, very easy animal to do in low poly 3D.
Yeah.
I mean, most of the characters I do are very simple. Like, I mean, the enemies in Kiwi 64 were bananas. They don't have any limbs at all, so that was very easy.
Yeah, I actually, now that you mention it, thinking about like low poly game stuff, there's a lot of cases where bats were used for low poly models because they're pretty simple creatures. You don't even necessarily have to draw legs from to get the bat shape correct. You just need wings and a body, more for the most part, and some ears if you can render that on whatever system you're doing back in the day. But yeah, it's a good. I think he looks very cute, and I like. I assume this is a friend of yours. I apologize if I'm butchering your name. Rogenvalder. Rogenvalder.
Oh, I don't know how to pronounce that name. It's just a nickname.
Well, Aero the Acrobat's successful cousin, he calls Macbat, which is, vaguely remember that from my childhood. I think that was like a Super Nintendo and Genesis release, Aero the Acrobat. I think it had a sequel too. I barely played it, but I do remember it vaguely. Back in the we need a mascot with attitude days, where everybody was like, we all need mascots with attitude. Look at Sonic. Sonic succeeded. We all need one.
Yeah. We all need our own Sonic.
Rogan? Okay, I'll call you Rogan then. So I noticed that you said the Macbat 64 is the successor to Kiwi 64. You said that on Game Jolt, I think. And I was actually curious, like, do you intend them to be in the same universe then, or?
Yes, definitely.
Oh, cool. Because it's been a long time since I played Kiwi 64, so I don't remember it too well, but.
Oh, that's okay. There's like a story recap at the beginning of Macbat 64, and since there was not much story, it's very, very fast.
Easy
but
recap.
Yeah, it plays 2 years after Kiwi 64.
Oh, cool.
Just because I like to have my games connected in some way. It's not it's not like there's this really deep link to the game. It's the same universe, and some of the characters are the same, and yeah.
Yeah, it's always fun to have a continuity. Or however you say that word. See, I'm not good at English either. It's fine.
Yes.
So, you made Macbat 64 entirely by yourself, aside from the music that is by Jay Moser, or however you say his name?
Well,
I assume it's Jay
not
Moser.
completely.
Got a little help?
Most of it. I made most of it. But like you said, the music is done by Jay, and the cover art, you know, the high res CGI rendering. I could never do something like that. That was my girlfriend at the time because she's a really talented 3D artist. She did that,
nice.
and also I had like with some of the textures, I had some help, and I think with some sounds, but it's probably in the credits. I hope it's in the credits.
Oh, it's okay. I know how it is to forget, like, credits for things. I've been involved in, like, I'm an artist, and I've been involved in collaborations, and sometimes it's like, oh, hey, cool thing you did over there. Who else worked on it? I'm like, I need to remember. I need to remember. Who did I collaborate on with this?
Yeah, it's like, that is why every time I work with someone, I immediately... I have like this text file and I just write down the name, and that is basically the text file I copy into the credits at the end, just to be sure that I don't leave anyone out.
Oh, whoops! It looks like.
Yes, I saw it.
Whoops!
He deserves it though.
Nightbot is a bit. I've tried to make Nightbot not be too heavy-handed, but it still is sometimes. Sorry about that, man. But, so let's see. Macbat's your only game on Steam so far, right?
Yes.
But I know you're working on a bunch of new projects. Do you have plans to release on Steam again?
Yes, but I don't really have a game yet that, you know, is in terms of scope big enough for Steam.
Mm-hmm.
At the moment, I'm just working on some prototypes and some small games I release just, you know, for free, like I did with Kiwi 64, like the Cyberpunk one. That is going to be a small little game I just, you know, release for fun. Nothing too fancy.
I'm thinking on another stream, I might play Kiwi 64, and when you release that, I'm thinking I'll play that Blade Runner like game and Kiwi 64, maybe a few of your other ones too on the stream. Because I am kind of interested in your content. But plus, I feel like playing Kiwi 64 again is kind of thematically appropriate if I'm going to be playing Macbat today. So, because I streamed Kiwi a long time ago, but that was before I recorded and stuff, like kept recordings.
Yeah.
So keeping an actual recording of that, like that seems like a good idea. Ask Siactro about Kiwi and Japanese speedrunners. Oh,
yes,
boy.
there is on speedrunner.com. There are actually some speedruns of the game by now. There's like a small community of people who speedrun Kiwi 64, and there were a few videos coming up in the last month, and one of them is actually from Japan, and that is pretty cool. And I think he even made like a tool that kind of I didn't really understand it, but it had Kiwi's face on it, and I think it translated the text from the game into Japanese or something.
Oh, that's cool.
It was. It's like, that is also why I will never ever update that game again, because now there's a speedrunning community and I don't want to ruin it for them.
Oh man, speedrunners, I'm not really necessarily involved in speedrunning too heavily, but I have been kind of on the outside looking in on that. They can be very dedicated. Actually, one time what was that game I played? There was a Steam game I played, very simple, actually kind of called back to, I want to say, European game consoles, actually, like the Commodore 64. There was a bunch of games that were platformers that were screen based, like the challenge was on that screen, then you go to another screen. They were usually open ended, and each screen had a name, usually a witty name for the screen. There's a few games that qualify for this. I can't remember what they're all called because I'm American, so I didn't really grow up with any of these European consoles. But this one game, it features a dinosaur. What is it called? Oh yeah, Rex Another Island. It was released on Steam last year, not too long ago actually, a few months, not a few more months, like several months ago, and I really enjoyed it, and it was actually pretty fun. So I started doing a little bit of speedrunning, and then I actually got approached by a speedrunning community for it, and I was like, this game has a speedrunning community? I was like very surprised for that. And they were like, hey, you should post your times over there. I'm like, I guess I could. And of course, they got defeated really fast because I'm not really a proper speedrunner, and of course, somebody could do it better than me. But a really fun game. Rex Another Island. You might want to look that up sometime if you've never heard of it.
Yeah, I just checked it out.
Very cute. I don't know. I can't even remember what you would call those games where they were multi-screen and each screen had a name. Though this one's a little more open, and it doesn't have. It's not completely screen-based because the screens actually scroll. And the games I'm thinking of, they didn't scroll. They stayed in one place and just had a name, and you just went to screen to screen. But yeah, they're a pretty fun game. It definitely harkens back to some Commodore 64 era stuff, or Commodore. Did I just say Commodore 64? Is that a real thing? Is that a real thing?
It is.
I just realized, like, wait, that's kind of weird. That's called a Commodore 64. Did it? It didn't have 64-bit graphics, did it? Or no, that was its memory. It was its memory, wasn't it?
Yeah, probably something like that. I don't really know either, but I actually got approached by someone who asked me what does Macbat have to do with the Commodore 64, and I was like, no, that's the wrong 64. It's a Nintendo thing.
That's an interesting misunderstanding, actually.
Yeah.
All right, well, that was all my questions, so...
Oh, really?
Yeah. That was fun. I like doing that.
To be honest, I absolutely enjoy being interviewed about my games.
It's a fun thing to do.
I like it.
Just being asked about, like, because there's a lot of things, like, especially as we go about playing Macbat here, there's elements that people probably would never talk about that probably took you hours of work, you know? Like, there's stuff that takes hours of work and nobody will directly acknowledge it. That's something I've learned about game programming. There can be, like, like this little thing is like, oh yeah, I can just jump and do that, and it turns out that takes hours of programming to actually achieve that, but everybody's like, oh yeah, I could just do that. No, they don't think about how much work it could be. So interviews are nice because they can kind of open that up.
Yeah, that's true. And I just like talking about games more than I like writing about games. I could never be a game journalist because I don't like writing about games.
Yeah, I mean, I'm a pretty good writer, but I prefer like playing and just giving my opinion on stuff as I play it, and then uploading that to YouTube and such. Doing a proper review, I could do proper reviews like some YouTubers. I probably could, though. Admittedly, it's like I'm pretty good at video editing, but I also hate doing it. It's like it takes forever.
Yes.
So I can I can do it, but I don't want to do it.
Yeah, it's basically every time I make a trailer for a game, it's like, okay, I just quickly make a trailer, and it's like 5 days later.
Oh, yeah.
I'm finally finished with the trailer. I upload it, and I think to myself, yeah, it looks like you did it in 5 minutes.
I feel that pain. For a while, I tried to do a really successful YouTube. That was back when they first started doing the monetization. I was really excited about it.
Okay.
And I tried to do a Let's Play channel. I tried to do all these games, and I barely got any attention. I was getting like $10 a month, but I was like putting in like, oh my gosh, like 80 hours of work per like couple weeks. I think it was. I mean, I was doing a full-time job, if not more. But it was not paying full-time job wages.
Yeah, actually, I tried to do some Let's Plays at some point as well with a friend. Some German Let's Plays. We played like I think some indie games, and we even imported a visual novel for the Super Nintendo, and it's so cringy. I thought about getting them off of YouTube, but then again, it's fun to show them to people. Like, yeah, I was that cringy.
Oh, I know the feeling. Even before I was trying to do the monetization, I did Let's Plays a long time before that when I was really, really young, and I think I was on YouTube really early. I'm trying to think, like, it's 2009 or so, those older ones, and it's just like, oh my goodness, they're so bad. My recording was so bad, I just didn't know what I was doing. But,
yeah, exactly.
Oh, goodness. Oh, let's see. Ask Sioctro about what kind of Sonic Adventure 2 he likes the most. What kind of Sonic Adventure 2?
I think he means because there are two versions, and
Oh.
Sonic Adventure 2 Battle for the GameCube is
That's
obviously the best one.
That's the only one I played, actually. I didn't play the original.
That's like the one most people played, I think, because nobody had a Dreamcast.
Yeah, I
even
didn't.
though it was cool.
My full experience with Dreamcast involved being a little kid and my dad taking me to this one restaurant occasionally, and they had a Dreamcast there for the kids to play. And that was my
that's cool.
only experience with the Dreamcast, actually, in person. Played Sonic Adventure 1 on it, I remember that.
Oh, that's cool.
And every time I went back, that save file was deleted, of course. Somebody else deleted it every single time. So I always started from the beginning over and over again. So I didn't really see much of Sonic Adventure 1, but I still enjoyed it.
But could you like enter your own memory card into the controller?
You could, but I
Oh,
didn't
that's
have
cool.
one. I didn't have one. They had their own memory card there at the restaurant, and obviously people kept wiping it because it was just there. And I'm surprised nobody stole it now that I think about it. Somebody could just take it out and just pocketed it.
But that that would have been kind of cool because there were those because they had those memory cards that you can actually play small games on, right? The what was
Oh
it
yeah,
called?
the
You or something?
yeah, I don't remember the name of it. Strangely, I remember the PlayStation's version, which only came out in Japan, the Pocket Station.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I remember these. I never never have in person interacted with one of those because Pocket Station was Japan only. Dreamcast did have the VM reader or something. I can't remember.
VMU. It's a
VMU. That's it.
Yeah. Visual Memory Unit.
Yeah.
That's a creative name.
Yeah, it's a bit of a shame about Sega leaving the console business. I actually was kind of intrigued by the Dreamcast, but yeah, like most people, I didn't own one. It's weird. It had great games, but nobody owned one. Let's see. Please ask the actual... Oh, go ahead.
Yeah, well, I got the Dreamcast like a few years ago, and it died after a year because it was old. So
oh yeah,
I didn't have much experience with the Dreamcast as well.
That's the trouble with the older disc reader systems. Like a lot of people's PlayStations are starting to go out and stuff without refurbishment. Because
I still have a Sega CD, and I just fear for the laser and the whole mechanics inside.
Oh gosh, yeah, that's one of the older disc-based systems.
Yes, it is. Yeah, Sonic Adventure 7. I actually played Sonic Adventure 7.
Oh, is that it? No, yeah, that's right. That's the bootleg. Oh, which bootleg is that though?
Thing.
At least it's not that. Oh my gosh! But the worst Sonic game, which isn't a bootleg for some reason, Sonic for the Game.com. If you've ever heard of the Game.com.
Yeah, the Sonic Jam port, right? Where you can only play the first level of the first 3 major Sonic games, I think.
I think
weird
so.
black and white or something.
And the music is basically a demon from hell, probably. You could basically summarize it. If I recall, it was just like the worst thing in the world.
Yeah, that's true.
So I was asked, what's the most complex game you've played? I was told to ask you. For your
Oh,
case.
that's... Rogan asked that, right?
Yes, he did. It's a good question.
Yeah, because the thing is, I'm not really into RPGs that much that have like this round-based fighting system. Not because I hate it, but just because I don't know. I just don't get into it. And I think the most complex game I ever played was, well, probably Pokemon or Diablo or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe I'm forgetting something. But yeah, like I'm more into real-time action kind of games. You know, where when you press a button, you have your action immediately instead of choosing something for your character and having all those steps.
That makes sense. Yeah, I used to play a lot of RPGs when I was a kid, but I kind of got out of it simply because as you get older, it's harder to find time for something. Because RPGs are long, and that's a general rule of thumb. I do like games with RPG systems that are action games. I also agree. I like action games. I like an action game where you also level up, like as you're playing it, and you get stat points. You could maybe customize a bit. That's always fun for me.
Yeah.
But
well, like simpler RPGs like Terra Enigma for the Super Nintendo.
Oh gosh, that's a great game.
Yes. It's actually my favorite Super Nintendo game, and I mean it like was more an action adventure than an RPG, right? But it still had all those these RPG elements just toned down to a minimum.
Yeah, it kind of felt like a Final Fantasy game, but without being a traditional RPG.
Yeah,
like
exactly.
The story was, I liked the story a lot actually, even if it was a little bit odd at times. I think there was some translation weirdness now and then, but at least for the English version.
Yes, it does. That's why it's my developer name.
Yeah, I was noticing what he was saying there. Simple action retro. Yeah, that is it's a good combo. It's a nice, easygoing combo. You can pick up and play that sort of game without too much investment or worrying about like, oh, do I have time for this? But yeah, thank you very much for the little interview. Never done this before. Honestly, you're the first. Like I said, you're the first developer I've ever had on a stream like this. I've interacted with a number of developers and for some games and such, but none have bothered to come. Well, granted, I've never really asked anyone because I've always been shy. I'm honestly a bit shyer than I may come across.
Yeah, I know that problem. But I absolutely I enjoy Twitch streams, and I like to be part of a Twitch stream. I actually at some point I streamed with a friend of mine. We streamed a few horror games just for a couple of friends and me and us, and now we don't have the time to do that anymore. So I'm happy to join other streams.
Okay. Well, you know, I could always, if you like the co-hosting thing, I could do that when I play your other games. I don't know exactly when I will be streaming them because I imagine I'm gonna wait for your Blade Runner game because I'm curious about that. But basically, when you release that, we could work something out, and I could basically do a Siactro stream.
Well, I do have a few games, small games that you could play like in a succession.
Sure.
Also, hey Brenton, hello.
Hello.
That's actually another developer. He made Firewing 64.
Firewing 6. I've not ever heard of this.
You
I'm gonna
should.
look this up.
It's basically like it's a 3D platformer in the N64 style, and you can do a lot more than you can do in Macbat.
Oh my gosh, that looks adorable. That looks absolutely. You play as a little chibi dragon. I love this. Look at this.
Yes.
I immediately want this. Okay, I will have to check this out later. Absolutely. Thank you for letting me know about it. Stolen idea. Well, it's a good stolen idea, okay?
Well, I mean, your dragon can do a lot more than my bat, so there's that. I think you can even wall jump in that game, which was super cool.
I don't think I've ever seen a dragon
like
wall jump in a video game. Thinking about it. Like, that's not a normal thing for a dragon to do, wall jumping. I like that, though. Alright. Well, let's see here. I'm gonna slip that music off. There we go. So yeah, let's actually fire this game up. Once I get my feed correct. There we go.
Please don't crash, please.